Good evening, everybody. It's March 17th, 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I have a special guest with me today on Donadio Domain, Saturday Morning Vogue Review. It's Ray Schnell. And we don't know each other from Adam, except for I got a call one day about the year 2017 asking about a shotgun that had my great-grandfather's name on it. Ray Schnell, I got you on the phone. Welcome to the show from California, I believe Upland. Is that right, Ray?
That is correct. All the way from California.
All the way from California. So there's over 1,000 miles separating us. And, we have become really good friends over the phone. We've never met each other in person, but this one item that you bought from a friend that happens to be our connection, and maybe we can talk about that because this story is really, really interesting. And this has everything to do with Donadio Shotguns, which is really originating from my great-grandfather that had a gun shop in about 1916 all the way to 1945 in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. I bet you there are no gun shops there anymore. But how about you run us through this story, which is just amazing, about this shotgun, like when you bought it and who you bought it from and how you met me.
Okay. Anyway, I have a friend of mine that I met back in probably 1993, Bill Bornham, it was his name. And Bill and I became friends. He was a World War II Navy veteran.
Wow.
And we were talking about things we had done, and as time went by, Bill got a little bit of age and he couldn't remember a lot. He said, "Hey, Ray, I'm going to have a yard sale. Why don't you come up to the house and take a look?" So I was up there, and he said, "Come in the house, I'm going to show you something." And in the closet, he pulled out this shotgun. He said, "Are you interested?" I said, "I thought it was kind of neat. I'd never seen one like it." He said, "You want to buy it?" I said, "What do you want for it?" He says, "Give me $150." I said, "Oh, okay." So I bought it, took it home, looked it over, and I thought, gee, kind of an interesting thing. And I didn't really take a really close look at it. So at that time, I took it to a gunsmith, and I had him look at the shotgun to make sure it was safe to shoot. And by the proof marks, it showed that it was okay. And we're trying to determine what type it was. And on the receiver, it had 10.5 on it. And we determined that was 10.5 millimeters, which equals about the caliber of a .410 shotgun.
That's right.
And so I brought the shotgun home, put it in the closet, got busy with work. And as time went by, I was really curious about this shotgun. I couldn't see anything else on it to determine who it was made by. And so I pulled the front forearm off, and lo and behold, there was a name on there, Prospero Donadio, on one side of the receiver. The other side says New York on it. That really piqued my interest, and I started looking around on the internet who this person was, and lo and behold, I found a Prospero Donadio, and then there was an article by his great-grandson about his grandfather's having a business in New York.
And that great-grandson was me.
Yeah, that had to be Barry.
Yeah.
And so on that article was Barry's phone number, and I proceeded to give him a call and tell him about this shotgun. And as time went by, we decided I'd like to have that Barry get that shotgun back. It's kind of a long story, but not really. It's just kind of, how can this be? And there's not a lot of these things around. And I don't think there's too many shotguns out there made by this person or with his name on it.
No, quite an interesting history. The first name that it is written, and his name is spelled incorrectly in many documents, it is actually Prospero Donadio. It's his true name. And it's written many different ways, so it's hard to look up his information, and maybe the patent office, they always spell it wrong. I think mostly some of the Italian mixed in with the English made some spelling issues for him throughout his whole life. But so from what I understand, and I did not grow up on the Donadio side of my family, I grew up with my mother's side. So most of what I know about the Donadio shotguns and my great-grandfather is only what I've been able to research and get, even through DNA testing as well. But Prospero Donadio, from what we gather, had first lived in Manhattan on Mott Street, and then later moved to Skillman Avenue, 11 Skillman Avenue, Greenpoint section of Brooklyn, right there off the BQE. Now, this is before the BQE was built. And he had this gun shop. And from what we understand, your shotgun that you ended up getting, and many others that are out there, and we estimate about 200 total, and that would be a high number. It's probably even lower. But what Prospero Donadio was doing was he made a deal with Belgian shotgun makers to import them, bring them to Brooklyn, and sell them out of his gun shop. That is our understanding. And what he would do, he would put his trademark on the shotguns. We believe that he engraved them. I don't think they were engraved in Belgium, but my best guess is, because he was very good craftsman, and and a gunsmith, of course. So I believe he was engraving each shotgun with his name, and he put it in a place where it wouldn't ruin the beauty of the shotgun. Usually under a forearm, you would have to take the gun apart for somebody to notice they have a Donadio shotgun. So I would say anybody watching this, if you have an old shotgun that somehow is traced to Brooklyn, New York, through a friend or something, or you got it from a family member, take it apart. Look for the name P. Donadio or Prospero Donadio. Some of them say Brooklyn, New York. Some of them say New York, New York. But there's probably, we're estimating, maybe up to 200 out there. And some of the owners may not even know they have one, which is like yourself. You didn't know you had one until you took it apart, which is pretty neat. And you had it for a couple of years. Is that right?
Yes. What's really interesting, Barry, about this shotgun, it had a very long barrel on it, and it broke down with a lever on it, but the stock would fold in half, and I'd never seen one like that. And when I took it to another gun shop to have it looked at, and before I sent it to you, they thought, gee, it's really unusual. They'd never seen one with a lever on it. On the right-hand side, you push it and it folds back.
Right, and this shotgun, so what I've gotten from this shotgun is, number one, it's extremely light for a 410 shotgun. It's quite a work of art. If you get a 410 shotgun today, they seem to be heavier. The wood's very heavy. This thing is, I would call featherweight. It's almost weightless. And from what we understand, and I'm looking at my great-grandfather's business card right now on the screen, and the business card itself praises that women praise the light recoil. So this gun, I believe, was a lady's weapon or a lady's gun to go skeet shooting with or trap shooting with, because we have to remember the times, like 1916, Brooklyn, there was farmland in Brooklyn. Make no mistake about it. On my mother's side of the family, my grandfather told me up in Corona, Queens, that when he was a boy in the 20s, that was all farmland. Okay, and that's hard for us to imagine. So men and women, they would take these shotguns and actually go on a date and go shooting together. That was the thing back then. And you wanted to have the lady have a nice, comfortable shotgun that was low recoil and probably very light to hold. And it's almost a pleasure to hold it. It's almost like stealthy is the best way I could describe it. There's nothing like it on planet Earth today. That it's just the way it's built, and the workmanship is phenomenal. But from what I understand, that women would wear their dresses and go shooting. So it was like a high-class affair to go maybe a little bit further out on Long Island, even a Freeport, which is almost like a city environment now. But back in these days, 1916, tremendous amount of farmland, and this is what people did instead of maybe going to the movies or something. You could meet a girl and, hey, you want to go shooting? And you offer her this shotgun. So that's what I understand. I will place the business card, for the viewers to see, and a few pictures of Prospero Donadio as well. And even your picture, Ray. You're a great looking guy. And, right? So,
what's really interesting, Gary, that definitely is made for a lady because the stock is cast off to one side and it's a short stock.
That's another point, that I really didn't notice. It is a short stock, but I think whenever somebody picks it up, the first thing they say is, I can't believe how light this is.
It's very light.
It's extremely light. I just don't understand how they could do it, but that's the fine craftsmanship, I guess, of the Belgians. And then probably my great-grandfather probably held one for the first time, and he said, wow, this thing's extraordinary. Maybe I could sell these out of my shop. And that's exactly what he did.
And what's really, really interesting, Barry, it had a really long barrel on it. And so it was good for bird shooting.
I bet. Yeah, I mean, hunting, skeet shooting, or trap all came into play with this. It's just a single-shot crack barrel shotgun, but quite a pleasure. I've not shot it because I don't want to hurt it. I have it oiled and
leave it alone and just keep it cleaned up and put away as a safe haven for you. Yeah, it's in a case. It doesn't leave the case. It's boasting in gun oil, and there's where it is. That's where it's going to stay. But if you want to send it back, I'll pay you. You want to send it back?
Well, hey, how about if I ever sell it, I give you double what I paid for it, and we'll call it quits. And we keep the front. So far, the way I look at it,
Barry, what's really interesting when the gun shop looked at it, tried to appraise it. I think it's worth really more than just sentimental value, but it's a rare item, really.
It's a rare item, and so there are other Donadio family spread across, as you can imagine, Connecticut. That, of course, comes from the Brooklyn Donadios. There are Donadios in Florida, New Orleans. There are others that have Donadio shotguns. I know for a fact that they were passed down. It's very, very few amount, but they're not talking. Like, they don't want anybody to know that they have one. I guess because other Donadios will be like, hey, can I get one too? And so everybody is tight-lipped with the ownership, I guess except for me, but they're very tight-lipped about even owning a Donadio shotgun, believe it or not. And I think they're looking at it like a crown jewel or something, like maybe something valuable to wear. They don't even want to talk about that they owe it out of fear maybe somebody will come and try to steal it. Because these things...
I've looked online about one of the really high-grade double-barrel shotguns, highly engraved. They're very fine firearms. Backing up about the story about Bill Bornham that I bought this from, he told me that his neighbor that he got it from was from New York.
And that's where you and I said, oh, wow, that has to be from, the Donadio shop.
But he couldn't find out where at, and as time went by, I think his brain kind of faded. And I tried to get that from him before he passed. He said, well, really interesting, Ray, when they lived next to us for a while, he thought they were mafia.
Hey, who knows, right?
I said, no, but I thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, hey, anything is possible. And if it was the mafia, they have a good sense in buying a great shotgun when they go bird shooting for that, But, the other interesting fact that shop later was completely taken down and destroyed to make room for the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, the BQE Expressway. So 11 Skillman Avenue, I've been on location looking for it, and I said, oh my goodness, it's gone. It's gone because they had to do that to build the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. And that led my great-grandfather to literally go only a few hundred yards to the west and go to 378 Grand Avenue, not very far from the original location. And so although they were building the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, he did go there. And rumor has it that is where he ended up there until his death. He had died on December 7th, 1941, the day that the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. There's another extremely interesting connection to December 7th with this whole story. And what is it, Ray?
Well, I was born 1939, December 7th.
So
that was my second birthday.
So you were 2 years old. That's unbelievable. So listen up, listeners, viewers. Ray turned 2 on the same exact day that my great grandfather died. This man ends up almost accidentally owning a gun from his gun shop. That's fascinating. There's so many wild coincidences like that throughout life. But, moving on to, the shotgun and talking about that, moving on, let's talk beyond that. We've become great friends.
Yeah,
we talk.
We like to chit chat about the current events and keep
Sure.
ourselves straight and narrow.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We're still trying to get you to move to the East Coast. I don't know if that's going to happen now. Yeah.
Anyway, we was born here in Upland in 1939 at the hospital. So
Wow.
We still go up there and say hello to people and say, "Are you from here?" I said, "I'm a local native." And they go, "How many people are like you around here?"
Is that so? So yeah, I had never asked her. So you were born right there in California, never left. You were just
No,
okay.
I got drafted in '63 in the service, and we did get to travel back to New York. It was really interesting, Barry. When we're coming back by ship from Germany, I'll never forget the time we came to the New York Harbor and got to see the Statue of Liberty.
Absolutely beautiful.
That was very emotional for me.
Oh, that's very sweet. And thank you for your service. You went over to Germany during the Cold War. Things were a little different back then, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I was when I was drafted, then I went to Fort Ord, then to Fort Gordon, Georgia, to be in the Signal Corps. And then from there, we went to Germany. So,
okay.
What's really interesting, Barry, how you remember things that took place. When I graduated from Signal Corps School, November 22nd, 1963. Do you remember that day?
I was born in 1970, so I will say I do not have any recollection of that day.
That was the day President Kennedy was assassinated.
Right. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I can't.
You threw one over my head there.
But I can remember that.
So where exactly were you during the Kennedy assassination when you heard that?
The day I graduated from Signal Corps School.
Just the same exact
formation. They made an announcement and they went on alert, and we stayed there full day until they released us.
And probably you thought that would be World War III right there that day, right? Because who knows?
We thought so. We thought the balloon had gone up and we weren't too sure what was going to happen.
That's crazy. We never hear of that side of, like the military side of, what was the military doing that day? Well, you guys are getting ready to fight World War III because you really didn't know what was going on. So
no, we didn't. We had the slightest idea. In fact, my parents had come back to see me graduate, and I lived off post with my wife at the time, and we thought we're never going to get to leave the base at all. But they finally called the alert off, and we got to take off. And then the next day, we caught an old prop job to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Then I got on a troop ship. I can't remember if it's the Alexander Patch or the Buckner. And
that must have been a long ride. How long did that ship ride take?
10 days.
Oh, okay. I guess
it was a
10 days on a
trip.
10 days on a troop transport ship doesn't sound fun.
Well, you stack 5 people on a bunk there.
Oh.
I lucked out. I got the top bunk, so I didn't have people splashing down on me.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that's our soldiers, sailors, airmen, you name it. The sacrifice that they do. You could be shipped somewhere and never end up on a war zone, and it's just a tremendous amount of sacrifice, even without going to a war zone. So, I mean, being away from home or being away from family, taking a troop transport ship 10 days in those conditions, it couldn't have been fun.
It was a tough trip going over there, Barry, at that time, because we got aboard the cruise ship and we got out of the Newark Harbor. It was the Atlantic Ocean was just terrible. The ship was just pitching, and I think we were allowed to go topside twice for a lifeboat drill. Other than that, we were back inside to keep us safe.
So you were not allowed outside, only allowed below decks for 10 days straight, and you only got out twice. Is that right?
Twice, right.
Oh my goodness!
But coming back in May of '65, it was just calm as could be. You could see the curvature of the earth and just the ships, and it just calm as could be. A big difference. Oh,
I can imagine. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But, back to seeing the Statue of Liberty, that must have been beautiful. My, probably Prospero Donadio saw that as well. And, family members that we have from Sicily on my mother's side of the family certainly saw, Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. They had come through there. So that is a beautiful sight. We do have a relative that was actually born in New York Harbor when they were coming over from Sicily, thus making her a U.S. citizen right then and there. That story was always told in our family as well, which was interesting, probably in view of the Statue of Liberty.
I don't think people really appreciate service people, except nowadays you're not drafted, but coming back at that time was during the Vietnam War.
Right.
And it was a different atmosphere at the time. But seeing the Statue of Liberty said, gee, I'm home.
Oh, it just must have been so good to, you must have kissed the ground, because I just about kiss the ground every time I go to New York, and I'm only in Maryland right now, so I miss home. That's home for me more than anything. And it really is a beautiful place, and a place full of dreams and hope, really. So many dreams were made there, and so much hope was, and even Prospero Donadio, they had no money, not a dime, from what I understand. How he was able to do everything he's done. Now, you and I both have researched. He has held some patents, and one patent is the May 17th, 1916 patent, which we believe made him money to be able to be more successful at his gun shop. He had a bunch of patents, but this one was actually putting a safety on revolvers back in, 1916, and it was successfully implemented in some firearms from Iver Johnson and Meridian, perhaps one other pistol maker. But I imagine he made some money there. He may have saved some lives. Some people are clumsy with their guns, and, if their safety was on, maybe he saved lives that he's not even getting credit for. But he had done a whole bunch of these, and he did this all from nothing, so I think
good mechanical background, how should do that.
Yes,
he's pretty clever and genius at that, Barry.
Yes, his other patent that he made was actually, which I never knew, contained inside the handle of a revolver. He made a weight that made the revolver actually stabilize better and function better. And maybe some of those weights are used today, but he actually, I mean, who would have ever thought that, inside the handle of a revolver is actually a stabilizer, and he created something like that. I'm not certain if he made money there. Eventually the ownership of these, they expire, and then anybody could use them when you make a patent. That's what I understand. But certainly that one where he did the safety on the revolvers made him some money. But it certainly is a story that all of us Americans can share, coming from simple backgrounds with very little money, maybe from another country at some time or another. We all came here, and we made something of ourselves. And I can't imagine even my great-grandparents saying to themselves, well, they would, I ultimately ended up working at the White House in the Secret Service, and I can't imagine them even thinking that somebody would do that, because we have the ship rolls and from when they came, and they're listed as peasants, and we're very proud Sicilian peasants. Now, how about your background? Where's your family stem from, Ray?
Well, my background being the last name is Schnell means I'm German.
Yeah,
and,
German.
My mother's maiden name was German, and so was my father's name was German. And so, check on the backgrounds of it. See, my great-grandfather was in Prussia at the time before it's called after Germany.
That's right.
And we saw that through the paperwork, an actual genealogy, not one of these things you pay for, And he migrated to the Volga River in Russia at that time, Prussia.
Okay.
They're there. And then because Catherine the Great needed farmers, and he was a farmer, and later on he came back to Germany and to the United States. I think it was the early 1800s or late 1800s or early 1900s and came to the United States. Hello.
No, that's okay. You can continue, Rick.
So anyway, that's how, and my family, all my relatives were in a town in Oklahoma was a German settlement. And, but I was born here in California, and my brother was born in Oklahoma. So we were the Doomcosts. We didn't speak any German, but my cousins could.
Oh, wow. How interesting.
Yeah. But what's interesting, Barry, when I go back to Oklahoma to live on the farms with my aunts and uncles, we would go to church, and one half the church would sing out of a German hymnal, and the rest of it would be an English hymnal.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. That's kind of the background for us. So anyway, we've been in California. We have been visit different states in the United States, and but as we got older, we don't travel much anymore.
Right. So, is there a German Mauser in your future from World War I or World War II? Because I have one. I have a German Mauser, an 8mm Mark 1918, which is really, really cool. But
really?
Yes,
yeah.
From Obendorf, Germany. It's even marked right on there.
I have one firearm I can tell you about. It's a German artillery model Luger.
Oh, that would be very cool to have.
Yeah,
that would be a fine piece.
Get a picture of that and show it to you. And that's put away in a safe. So I've never fired a darn thing.
Well, that would be so valuable at this point. You know, like the Donadio shotgun, it's just a gun to have, and you really don't want to take a chance even shooting it. It's a museum piece.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I have some other firearms that I've shot or fired in the past, but I haven't been out for a long time. So as I get older, my eyesight's still good, but my body's gotten old. Yeah,
well, hey, you're A-okay today. Your mind is sharp as a whip, and I personally appreciate our friendship. You know, closing out, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for the kind gesture you did, even allowing me to buy that shotgun and bring it to our family. That was a very, very nice thing to do. You have a friend for life, so hopefully you understand that. You know that we talk all the time, actually. How amazing it is to connect with somebody and end up being very close friends like that over a gesture of kindness. So, Ray, you're a heck of a guy. I love you. I really appreciate you. And let's continue the positivity and the friendship going forward. And you could give me a call anytime.
I really appreciate your friendship too, Barry, and thank you for your time too.
Thank you. Thanks for having me with you and you with me. And we'll keep in touch. And thank you again.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.